Hello guys and welcome back to another Hunter's Prestige fitment video. On today's video we're going to show you how to retrofit one of the Hunter steering wheels. So these are our new Hunter's Prestige steering wheels, which we've actually manufactured these ourselves. Now currently we have three different options available. We have Alcantara, we have Napa leather, and we also have Napa perforated. We're looking to expand the options going forward as well. We're also going to be looking at doing an OCTA option, which is slightly different to standard wheels because it has the OCTA button in the middle, and we're also going to be doing carbon fibre as well. So all three current options come in flat bottom. It allows for a little bit more leg room when actually driving the vehicle and also adds a little bit more of a sportier look. So with our three steering wheels as well, we have different options for them as well. So they can come with or without pedals. So if you've got a factory fitted V8, you'll actually have the paddle shifts fitted. I know the newer models currently aren't coming out with pedals, but all vehicles apart from the P300e can be fitted with the pedal shift as well. So the main difference between the V8 and the non-V8 is the holes that actually accommodate the pedal shifts in the back of the steering wheel. So that's why we have two different options available to pick from on our website of with V8 and without. So within this fitment video as well, we're also going to show you how to actually build up the steering wheel prior to actually putting it on the vehicle as well. So when we get to that stage, we'll show you the different things you have to look out for if you've got pedal shifts or not, and also the screws that we provide if you have selected the V8 option, which you do need to change if you've already got pedal shifts fitted on your vehicle. We actually provide you with 4 screws to actually change because the Land Rover genuine ones are slightly too long. All of our steering wheels currently come with the heated steering wheel function available, fitted from standard. So if your vehicle is already a heated steering wheel, this will remain capable. So if you also want to retrofit it, or if you don't have it at the moment and would like to add the pedals, get in contact with us because we can retrofit it to any vehicle. With the new release of our steering wheels, we've also introduced a new steering wheel insert as well. Now this is in dark grey, just like the Land Rover genuine one, but it's actually made of magnesium, so it's slightly lighter. We also have a different range of steering wheel inserts available on the website from the Land Rover genuine and also the Plum. Or you can use your existing one currently fitted to the vehicle. So that's a brief introduction to our new Hunter Prestige steering wheels. Let's get into the video. Okay, so tools required for today's installation. You're going to need a ratchet. You're also going to need some torque bits. So you need a T50, T25, T20, and also a T9 with some extensions. You're also going to need 2 small screwdrivers or picks and a torque wrench. You also need an Allen key for the back bolts of the pedal shifts, if you are going to have pedal shifts. Okay, to start with, start the ignition, and you are going to need to adjust your steering wheel position. So if it's manual or electric, just widen it as far as possible. And you can start off by removing this top cover, like so. Pull it through slightly, and then you'll be able to release the top cover to the material at the back. There is 2 clips holding this on either side. Turn the steering wheel upside down and turn off the ignition. Next up, you want to release this green connector on the left hand side. There's a little retainer switch on the back of that, so just press that in and that will release the connector. That will stop the airbag from deploying. And using your 2 flathead screwdrivers or alternatively picks, what you want to do is there's 2 holes in the back of the steering wheel. If you've never removed the steering wheel before, you may need to break the seal on these. If you feel on the back, it is very hard to see in the video, but you'll be able to feel them at the back. They'll be the only 2 holes that are available. You want to put one of the screwdrivers in and then repeat that on the other side. And what you're feeling for here is the springs that actually retain that airbag on. There is a technique we use where basically we find the spring, you can feel it with the screwdrivers, and then you release them by pulling them out, like so. That will release the airbag. And then you just want to disconnect that airbag from the actual steering wheel with the yellow connector. There's a black tab that you just want to release. So pick that out, and then there's a connector just behind that to take the actual connector off, like so. Using the T50 Torx bit, you now want to release that torque bolt in the middle. These are quite torqued up sometimes, so you could always get someone to hold the steering wheel to hold it in place. Now when you're removing this steering wheel, you want to take it completely off straight. You do not want to turn it or the rotary coupling. You also want to release this black connector here as well. So don't touch that rotary coupling at all. Here's the technique that we use when releasing the pins at the back. And as you can see from the inside, this is what it basically does. It releases these two connectors here, releasing the airbag in the middle. So we've just taken off the genuine Land Rover steering wheel, and I thought I'd just quickly show you the comparison of the two steering wheels, which is the genuine Land Rover steering wheel and also our flat bottom Nappa. So the difference, as you can clearly see, is our steering wheel is a lot thicker than the genuine Land Rover. You also have the added sports grip on our flat bottom steering wheel, and of course the flat bottom to add a little bit of a style. Okay, to disassemble the steering wheel, what we want to use is a T25 bit with an extension, and you just want to release these 3 bolts here. It's always good to keep them nice and tidy so you know where they are when you go to reassemble. You also want to remove the springs that are just behind these bolts. Now turn the steering wheel around. And using your Torx T20, you just want to remove these screws here. There's 4 screws that actually hold that insert on. Right, and with this metal plate here, you just want to release the earth connector down there using a Torx T20. And you want to disconnect the heat steering wheel from steering wheel using this connector here, if you do have it fit to your vehicle. You can now remove the insert from steering wheel. Skip T1208 if you're keeping your existing insert. Now we want to release the buttons from either side of the steering wheel insert. First thing you want to do is release this white connector here. There's a little tab on the back to help it release. Also this black connector. You can use a screwdriver or a pick to help with this as well. And the white connector on the other side. Using the T9, you now want to release this earth point here. These screws are very small, so keep them in place, do not lose them. You also want to remove the screws that hold on the switch panels as well. And then transfer the switch panels onto your new steering wheel insert. Retighten the screws using the T9 Torx bit or screwdriver. and then repeat that on the other side. Skip to 1805 if you're fitting with paddle shifters. First thing we're going to do is put the earth on the actual steering wheel. Be very careful when doing this because there is a certain placement that this needs to go on, which we'll show you shortly. And we want to make sure it doesn't go anywhere near this particular bit here. And as you tighten it, it doesn't move. If the placement of this connector does move when you're tightening it up, you can always undo it and adjust it slightly. Next up, reconnect the connectors. So black one first here, and then the white. And then the white cable on the other side. Now take your steering wheel and reconnect your heated steering wheel connector if you do have a heated steering wheel on your vehicle. There is a placement for this connector just here. And put the housing for the wiring just underneath like so, and poke that connector through. And then we're going to reinstall the earthing point on the wiring harness. Flip steering wheel over and reinsert the T25 screws. Now you don't want to do all of these up straight away, just want to make sure they're all grabbing. And sometimes you do need to debore the steering wheel slightly if there's a little bit of remaining material. You can easily do this with a knife, or alternatively just poke it with a screwdriver. And also make sure that the wires aren't in the way of the screws as you're tightening them up. Make sure that the wiring harness sits nicely underneath the insert itself. Reattach the earth connector onto this plate. Reinstall the springs underneath the plate. We always find it easier to do one at a time and then put the screw on. That will stop the springs from actually pinging off. Repeat that on the other two. Now you can test it before you tighten all of these up. Now you don't want to go too tight when tightening all of these. If not, when you actually push in your airbag, the horn will go off too easily. So it's nice to check after all these are tight that there's even movement on all three bolts. Flip steering wheel over and fully tighten all of these bolts that are holding on the steering wheel insert. Now flip the steering wheel over, just check all the gaps, make sure that no wires are being caught in the steering wheel insert. And then check the threads on the steering wheel insert, go all the way through. Now just inspect it, make sure the buttons work and the gaps are nice and clean. And we're ready to install. So now we're going to transfer over the wiring and harness and the switches onto the new insert. First thing we're going to do is put the earth on, the actual steering wheel. Reconnect the connectors. And attach the insert in. We're just going to place that in. And make sure all the wires are coming through correctly for where the paddle shifts go, and the harness is sitting nice and flat. Reconnect your heated steering wheel connector, and there is a housing just for that, just here. Poke the black connector through the hole, like so. And lay the house on for the wiring where the retainers are. I'm going to reinsert the earth screw onto the steering wheel. This is a different colour to all the other screws. And make sure that the harness is behind the insert. Reconnect the earthing plate, the blue wire, and make sure the connectors for the paddle shifts are poking through. Reinsert the springs we took out previously, I would like to do one at a time here. That stops the springs from breaking away. Then repeat this on the other two. Don't over tighten these straight away. We just need to make sure all of them are in place just before we tighten them fully. Now they're tight, flip the steering wheel over. You may need to debore the steering wheel if some excess material is there. You can do this using a screwdriver or a deborer. Now we can reinsert the screws. Now you only want to do a couple of threads on these, just to make sure all of them are grabbing before we fully tighten them. Now we can install the pedal shifts. Plus goes on the right hand side. And you do need to use the screws that we provide with the steering wheel for the paddle shifts. This is mainly because the ones that are removed from your existing steering wheel are slightly longer than our steering wheel. Tighten them up with an Allen key. And then install the minus on the left hand side. Insert the connector, then house the pedal shift. Again, tighten up the bolts. Make sure they're nice and tight. And then just check for any excess movement. Now you can turn the steering wheel over, fully tighten this plate. Make sure that all of them are tightened evenly, as this will affect the horn if not done correctly. Now it's done, we can fully tighten the steering wheel insert, all 4 bolts. Check around the steering wheel, make sure all the buttons move freely and that no connectors are caught, and also check that the steering wheel bolts are inserted correctly. Do your final checks, make sure all the gaps are nice and clean and spread evenly. And there is play on the plate. So now you can reinstall the steering wheel. Again, make sure you don't turn that rotary coupling and the guides go on correctly, and reinstall the black connector before tightening up a screw with a T50 to 48 Nm. Might need 2 people to do this to stop the steering wheel from moving. And we can reinstall the airbag, the yellow connector, and then push in the black tag when it's complete. Rotate the airbag so that the wire doesn't kink and push in. Now you can reinstall the green connector at the back. Now the airbag is now live. Turn on the ignition and check for any warning codes. Now there's no codes, we can reinstall this top cover. There's 2 clips holding this on to the material, and then reclip in the top cover. Start the ignition again, realign your steering wheel, and check everything is operating smoothly. Also, if you have a heated steering wheel, make sure it heats up. We also advise checking the horn, make sure it operates correctly. And if you have the paddle shifts installed, check them also. So there you go guys, that is the end of today's fitment video. I hope you found that video nice and easy to follow. And if you guys have any questions of how to fit our flat bottom steering wheels, please get in contact with our sales team who are more than happy to help. As always guys, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next fitment video.